Hello everyone, welcome back to more Biosphere Fun. So this is the last soil that you need to know. This is called a Gley soil. So I'm going to take you through description explanation like we did for brown earth and pod soil. Remember, you need your jotter, ruler, pen, highlighter, hopefully different colour pens as well to help you do this. So here we go. Folks, this is the task that you have to do. Copy out that soil profile and then leaving plenty of room for annotation. Just so we know, I've included an example of a pupil drawing for the soil profile, just so you can get to see the colour of it more or less. Okay, doke? Okay, folks, just cast your eye to the picture on the left hand side. You can see the soil is a blue-grey colour. It looks quite clay in texture, and there is an occasional red colour if you look at the picture closely. This is in the region of northern Siberia, so cast your mind back to the introduction when we were discussing soils in terms of latitude. So this is called a tundra gley. So we do get other glays at the bottom of slopes when we're talking about altitude, but this one is a tundra. So you will be describing and explaining the formation of a tundra gley. Very important, because some textbooks, some online resources have explanations for what we call a Katina Clay, one on a slope, but this one's for tundra. Also, just be careful because online resources and textbooks sometimes mix explanations and descriptions up between the two types of gley. So use this one as your basis, okay? The information on here that I've given you as your basis for your description and explanation of a gley soil. Okay, so you need to have your resources ready for this because you are going to draw out the central soil profile. This one is in black and white, but you can see in the previous slide the colour, so it's like that blue-grey colour. So draw it out, middle of the page, don't make it too big, remember, because you're going to annotate with description around the outside and then explanation around about that as well. So I'll start on the top right hand side for the description. Gley is one of those soils which is totally different from brown earth or pod soil. Remember, if you know pod soil, you know brown earth and vice versa. For gley, it stands alone. So the leaf litter here is totally different. It is low-lying mosses and lichens. Okay, so plants that are quite short, that lie low out of the way of the Arctic winds, and they do have short layer of root penetration into the soil. We'll come on to why later on. Our next layer are AO horizon. This is a black, more acidic humus. There's a thick layer of leaf litter, but a thin layer of humus. Again, explained on the next slide. Then we have our blue-grey colour of our A and B, and both of them have a clay texture as well. Okay, very close together, very little spaces in between. Angular rock fragments are scattered throughout our A and B horizons, and right at the bottom we're talking about permafrost for our C horizon. Okay, so if you're not sure what permafrost is, if you've not done geography before, it is permanently frozen soil below the top layers of soil. Okay, so if you were to go to Greenland or Iceland or Siberia, Canada, underneath it would be permafrost, permanently frozen soil. Okay, so that bit doesn't thaw or melt. The layers above sea would thaw and melt in the summer. Okay, doke. Carrying on, no clear horizons. Okay, so you can see in the picture in the previous slide, it was very hard to make out the AO, A, B and C horizons. We do have some red mottling, so little pockets where we do have a little red colour. The whole soil profile is also waterlogged, so water can't pass through. No soil biota, so we don't find earthworms, and very little bacterial activity. And then I've said it before, but short layer of root penetration takes us right the way around the diagram with the description. So you need to include all of those descriptions in your copy. So you should be choosing another colour of pen or highlighter for the explanation section to go onto your diagram. So let's try and start explaining why the descriptions characteristics are the way that they are. So top right, mosses and lichens. So I've said it before in the previous slide, but the reason why they grow here and not say trees, because of the very harsh winds and the cold conditions. So mosses and lichens are able to survive here. Okay, other vegetation isn't able to survive. These mosses and lichens will break down over time. It takes quite a long time. The fermentation process is going to be slow because it is very cold, but they will break down to give an acidic compound, therefore leading to the more humus layer. Okay? The leaf litter doesn't decompose easily, as I've said, because the temperatures are very low and microorganisms cannot survive. So it's going to take a long time for any of that vegetation to decompose. So that's why you've got a thick layer of leaf litter, but a very thin layer of humus. The red mottling, why do we have that throughout the blue-grey colour? Well, occasionally the soil does melt, so your A and B horizons during the summer will melt. Bits of air can get in here, and then that will re-oxidise the compounds in the soil. So the iron compounds that are present will re-oxidise and then they will turn red. So it's a blue-grey colour because the situation we've got here in Gley are anaerobic conditions, so we lack oxygen here. So we get red mottling because sometimes we do get pockets of air and that will re-oxidise the iron and turn it red. We get fragments of parent material, so we get fragments of rock throughout because we get something called frost heaving. Now, you might be familiar with frost shattering or freeze-thaw weathering. So it's the same idea. Water enters cracks in the rock, freezes, expands, and then bits will break off. So that is what's happening to the parent material, frost heaving. And that movement, the freezing, expanding, will churn the soil up and you'll get indistinct horizons with that as well. Why is it waterlogged? Bottom right here. Ice does melt, so on top you'll get snowfall in the winter time and ice forming, and that soil will freeze. But in the summertime, it will melt, and that means that whatever's on top of the soil in terms of ice or snow, it is going to go through the soil. Now, it doesn't have anywhere to go because right at the bottom at the sea horizon, it is impermeable. Remember, permafrost is permanently frozen. So the water can't go anywhere. So it sits on top of the sea horizon. So that's why it's waterlogged. So when the ice melts in the upper layers during the summer, the permafrost acts as an impermeable layer, causing waterlogging. Okay. Here we go, the bottom left now. The cold temperatures means that there's a lot of frost heaving, and that's going to continually turn the soil up. So again, very much like what I said before, just linking it back to that. The soil biota can survive in the anaerobic conditions, the waterlogged conditions, and the cold temperatures. So that's why we don't have earthworms here. And then the last bit, the mosses and lichens have shallow roots because the soil is frozen for much of the year. So they have to be able to get to the nutrients in the top layers of soil, so we have shallow roots. Folks, that's a lot of explanation, and I would advise you to go through that again and make sure you're understanding all of the terminology which I've used. This slide has been put on more just out of interest rather than a dire need for you to learn it. So I've put the little picture back in there of the soils on a slope just to show you where the gley is. So it's called the Katina Clay, one that forms at the bottom of a slope. And then I've listed the 4 differences between this type of Gley and a tundra Gley. So take it at your leisure, read it if you're interested in the differences between the 2 of them, but it is really the description and explanation of a tundra Gley which you have to learn. Like with the other 2 soils, I've included the table, or the summary table at the end, just so that you can tick off and make sure that you're understanding the description with its explanation. Okay, so use that if you learn this way in a table format. I know some people prefer it. Okay, look.